Hey everyone, so this is what we're going to be making today. It's how to break glass or shatter glass in Anime Studio or MOHO 12. It's pretty easy, but again you need to have Pro so you can use physics. And that's it. So let's get started. Hey everyone, this is going to be a tutorial on how to create shattered glass in Anime Studio 11 or MOHO 12. And it uses a little bit of physics, so you have to have the pro versions of the program. And I'm going to start off by just drawing a window with the rectangle tool. And let's go ahead and do an autofill. I'm going to color it in so you can see it better. So we'll just use blue right now, just so it's easier to see. And I'm going to hit T and move some of these points around just to give it a perspective, just so, like, this could be a storefront window right here. So I'm going to do that, and let me just move it into position, and I'm just going to call this window. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that, and I'm going to call this fractured. Fractured. I think that's how you spell it. And I'm going to hit Q, select shape, and select it, and I'm just going to delete that, just so it's empty. Turn off the window. And so now we just have an empty square, no fill or stroke. And then I'm going to go ahead and add points. And you can do a Command A to do that also. And I'm just going to draw some fracture points for this window. Oops. I don't want it to fill. We do want it to auto weld, but no fill and no auto stroke. We do want sharp corners though. So go ahead and draw some however you want to fracture the window into pieces. This is basically going to be cutting out the pieces. Just make them jagged. And continue to do that. However you want the glass to break into pieces. And you have to have auto weld on just because you want to make sure that these shapes close when you're drawing them. And I'm just trying to make them a little bit more jagged. Maybe leave that a big piece down here. And keep in mind too, like if you want the point of impact to look like it's in the center, make the pieces in the center smaller. If you've ever seen, or looked at shattered glass, it's usually kind of like a spider web. The point of impact has a lot of damage to it, and then the farther out it goes, the less there is. So, oops. And let's see here. So you can spend your time and make this as detailed or not as detailed as you want. I'm also going to do a Command A, select all, or you can hit G and just drag over your entire window. And then I'm just going to hit C and curve, left click and drag to the left, just to make sure that the points are super straight. Because if they're curved out, it's not going to work. So you need to make sure those are straight, and go ahead and click on peak corners also, just to make sure that these are very straight, because we're going to use the paint bucket to fill them. So now I'm going to select the paint bucket, and we still have blue selected. I'm also going to select blue as the stroke color, so I'll click on the eyedropper, drag it over my fill color so it's the same, and then we'll use the paint bucket. I'm going to leave the width on 2. and we'll go ahead and go in and just fill in all of the pieces of glass. So just click on all of these shapes. Now, if you see any shape that has more points than you've drawn, that means that there's some curves in there that Anime Studio doesn't like. So you'll have to redo it or just redraw some of the connections. I was hoping one of these would do it, but they look like they're all good. So if I render this out, the pieces all look like the window itself. Doesn't look like there's any cracks, and that's partly because we used strokes also. So with the fractured layer selected, we'll go ahead and select all, Command A to select all, or you can hit G and drag over the window, and that selects them all. Then we're going to go up to scripts, then we're going to go to layer effects, and then we're going to go to break apart shapes. And go ahead and leave it on its default, which is put each shape in its own layer and group them together. It's just going to separate them all, but put them in a folder. And then create separate geometry for each shape. Go ahead and leave it like that also. And we'll just hit OK. And now we've got a folder here. We'll just call this pieces. You can call it fractured or whatever you want to. This is just the separate pieces. So I'm going to say pieces. And after it's broken apart the layer, it makes a copy underneath. And I don't know why Anime Studio does this, but go ahead and delete this. We'll just use the window that we created at the beginning. We don't want this fractured one here because for some reason it messes up the rendering. So go ahead and throw that away. So now we have the solid window, and then above it we have a folder. And if I open that folder, we have all the pieces. So if I click on these to view them, make them visible or not, you can see they're all different pieces. Okay. So now that we have our window, we need to break it. So we have to do a couple of things, and the first thing is we need to add physics. So go ahead and double click on your folder for the pieces, then select physics, and then enable physics, and just go ahead and leave this at its default setting. This just simulates gravity. So hit apply, make sure you hit apply, and then OK. Now if I go through the timeline, you can see that the window starts to fall. All of the pieces fall together because they're all together. Duh. So it doesn't look like it's fracturing. But what you need to do now is create a new vector layer, place it inside the pieces folder. We'll put it in the very bottom. And let's go ahead and rename this frame. And the frame is just gonna, this can be the ground also. I'm just calling it the frame because I'm gonna put it around a window. And I'll apply and hit OK. Make sure you hit apply again. And then we're going to double click it, and we're going to go back into the physics layer, and we're going to call this a non-moving object. So this particular layer is not going to be affected by the gravity or the physics. It's going to, the physics and the other layers are going to react to it, but it's going to stay stationary. It's going to stop them from moving. So we'll hit apply. OK. And then I'm going to just draw a rectangle. I'll give it a different color just so you can see what's going on. So if I drew this at the bottom, and remember I said not, I selected non-moving object in the physics. Non-moving object right there. So if I play this now, the pieces will hit that and then shatter. Just like that. Okay? But you can also, depending on the way the frame or the ground is made, it will react differently to the other objects that are moving in physics. So if I slant this or move these points around, they're going to slide off. As I pull through the timeline, they'll break apart and slide. So you can make a frame, and we can hide this frame after we're done setting it up. Once we have our object breaking the way we want, you can add another wall in the background. So now when it collapses, it breaks and it kind of stays there and falls over. It just cracks apart. But for this, I wanted to show you how to break this glass using an object. So what we're going to do is double click the first piece of glass layer up here, and with this window open, the layer settings, go ahead and hold shift down and select all the layers. So from frame layer 29 to 0, or however many pieces you have, every piece of the glass. Make sure you select it, then go to physics, and then click non-moving object. Or I'm sorry, not non-moving object. That's going to freeze it. We want to start asleep. So when you click start asleep and apply and hit OK, what that does is these glass pieces will not move until they have hit something else. Something has to trigger them to move. So if I go through the timeline now, nothing happens. So now we need to make something to impact the glass. So we'll go to the top layer in the pieces folder, and this can be anywhere, but I just like to put it up top just so I know where my object is. We'll create a new vector, and we're going to call this impact. You can call it rock, bullet, whatever your object is that you're wanting it to impact, you can just name it that. And with the impact layer selected, I'm going to just draw a circle or a square or whatever object you have. And I'll just give this a different color. So I'm drawing this circle here. And if I play it, because it's part of the physics group, it's going to drop. We don't want that to drop either. So double click on the impact layer, go to physics, and say start asleep. Okay? And we also want this object to move towards the right to hit the glass. So the direction is already set. An initial direction is pointing to the right already. So this is just the way that the object is set to move. And then right now the speed is set to 0. That's why it fell downward. If we crank this up to, I'm going to do about 13, almost 14, and hit apply. And I'll leave that window open so you can see, and you can keep adjusting. So now, actually, let's wait. Take off start asleep just so you can see it move. Let me erase those keyframes that were created. And oops, we don't want it to start asleep. Dang it. Keep forgetting to hit apply. So take off start asleep, apply, and now it should move. So see, it's so close to the glass, it's hitting it in like the first frame. So maybe if I move this back on frame 0, take the impact over here, I'll drag through the timeline. You can see it starts to travel to the right and then hits the glass. Like that. Now, the other thing is you can change the density of this object. So this circle right now is really light. It's the only way I can describe it. If you turn the density up, it's going to impact this glass much harder. So turn it up to 8. Again, make sure you hit apply. I have problems doing that sometimes. And now when it hits, it's going to hit much harder. And you can see the glass actually animates in a different way. It shoots one of the pieces almost off the screen. And you can go back to frame 0 and reposition this wherever you want. If you want it to hit lower, you can do that. If you want it to hit higher, you can put it up there. So it's really, really, it's a really cool tool to use for creating stuff like this. You can use this not just for glass. You can make other objects. You can make cars and make them into parts and then have them explode. Lots of things you can do with this. But I need to show you also how to make an object start animating elsewhere in the timeline, because right now it's just set to just automatically go. And that's what I was doing at the beginning. Let's go ahead and erase those keyframes. Let's say start asleep and apply so it doesn't just fly off. Okay, so nothing happens when I go in the timeline. Let's position it where we want it to be. Then let's say we want it to impact the glass at 72. Go ahead and place your cursor in the timeline at 72. And then all you have to do is go up to Animation, and then Nub Physics Object, and click on that. And it's nudging it, it's going to push it just a little tiny bit. The amount isn't really important. This is really just a trigger. So if I hit OK, you can see it's created a keyframe. That means it's going to start moving there. So if I go back to the 0 and go through, then at 72, boom. It's the glass. So that's the basic principle of how to make something shatter. And again, you can go back to the frame at any time. Go to frame 0, and you can change this. You can set it some of the non-movable objects back further. You can draw more. I can put one at the top too. And just scroll back and forth through frame 0 to see what the different reactions are. Oops. So if you don't like the way something hits, you can change that. You can change the here, let me take this off. Take off the top, and you can have it impact even harder. Double click the impact object and go into physics. Make it really dense. Apply. See how that looks. Makes a lot more of the glass pieces fly off. It's really just a matter of playing with the physics settings. You can also change, again, go back to frame 0, and if we want to change the physics of the glass itself, double click one of the top piece of glass in your folder, and then hold shift down and select all the way to frame 0. So you have all of them selected at the same time. Then you can change the physics of all of them as well. So down here it says copy all physics settings to other selected layers. Go ahead and turn that on. And then you can change the friction to 0 if you want. So 0, the pieces will just keep sliding around. If you want them to be springier, if you want them to have heavier weight, you can change the density. And just always remember to hit apply. So now when this hits the glass will just continue to move until it's stopped. But it's like slippery, I guess you could. I guess that's a good way to describe it. So you just keep messing with the settings until you get it the way you want it to look. Now, so that's really all there is to it. Again, you have to have Pro so you can use the physics. The other thing is, so I made that animation at the beginning, and there's a few other little tricks that I used to make the animation complete. So if you watched my tutorial before this one on throwing objects, I used the same exact model and rig, did the same thing. So if you want to know how to throw objects, just look at that. And then all I did was, you can see here, when I'm scrolling through the timeline, you can see where my frame actually is. If you see down at the bottom of the glass, the green, that's where the frame is. That I just put those there so the glass wouldn't all shatter and move off camera. So it kind of catches it like that. And what I did was, for the beginning of the animation, so I have the window complete, and you can see I just have it visible all the way till the impact. So this is actually a picture of the glass before it, that's all together so that you can't see any cracks or seams. And then right here I hide it and show the fractured glass. And you just hide and reveal by double clicking on your layers and then clicking visible, turning it off or on, and that'll create a keyframe to hide or reveal a layer. Because my fractured layer, especially for this animation, you can see that it's actually got gradients in each one of the pieces. So if I had that revealed at the beginning, it would look like it was already cracked. So right when it cracks, or right when it impacts and it starts breaking apart, that's when I reveal all of these pieces. So I did the same thing. I selected all of the glass pieces, or actually double click the first one, hold shift down, select the last, and then revealed all of them right here. Just turning on invisible, or turning visible on. And I had that set to off on frame 0. And so there's actually two pictures, the solid window and then the broken window. And I just show the broken window right when it hits. And the sound I just got from YouTube for free. If you look under the Creative Commons, they have lots of free sound effects. I just clicked on it, downloaded it, and threw it in here. To adjust audio, you can go into the sequencer, find your audio track, and then just pull it. You can just move it to where you need it to be, and then scrub through the timeline to listen to it. I knew it hit right there. And that's it. Let me see. What else? The way I did the transparent window, let me go to that real quick. If you guys haven't seen that before, I think I did it in I don't know, some other tutorial. To make a window, I just used this picture because they already had windows in here and they kind of had an open spot, so I kind of made it look like a window-ish. But if you're making your own drawing or your own background, you can just make all your windows look the same. But to fill that, right now I just have, if I show you, it's just a plain color. If I select it using the Create Shape tool, then under the Effect, go to Gradient, and I'm just going to pull the white over and select the, well, actually click a few times just so I have 4 white swatches right there. I'll click on the black and delete it, hit delete. And then this is just a matter of turning some of these down. The transparency. So I'll click on the first swatch, click on the color, pull on the opacity column all the way to the bottom so it's see-through. Select the second one. This one I'll just drag the transparency column down a little bit, almost to the bottom, but so it's still visible. Make the next one completely see-through, and then the last one, just make it pretty light. Then make sure you click Allow Transparency. Then you have your gradient. And this just gives you a little bit of reflective shine to your object. So it's still see-through, but it looks like it's reflecting light. And if you want to get real fancy pants, I think I have it. So this window has a reflection of like trees and stuff. I can just, let me go see if I can find something. See if I can find a picture of pine trees that I can throw in there. Because the Anime Studio allows you to put 2 different effects on. I'll just grab one. If it's, yeah, this is good. I'll save this image to my desktop. And then, so I have this gradient on here, but it allows me for another second effect. So I'm going to hit Q, select this. I'll go ahead and select Image Texture. Select Texture, and then I'll select my pine trees that I just found. And you see that puts the picture in there. I'll hit OK. You can grab the handles to move them around. And it's tiling right now, so what? Is this upside down? I don't know what I'm doing, man. But let's say you want an image in your window. We'll select on that, and it won't show a transparency, so you'll have to I'll double click on the window complete where that image is, and I'm just going to change the opacity here. Oh, it's already changed to 88. I think 88 was what I found to be good. And let me render that. Command R. Yeah. So now you can see there is a faint image in the glass of that tree also. So just a little handy tip for putting textures or pictures in glass to make that even more reflective. So it also has the that gradient, the shine, and then this picture. So that makes it look more like glass also. And I think that's it. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. And thanks for watching.